What's up, everybody? Joe White here, and we're in the dark because I have a headache and I don't want to turn any lights on because it hurts my head. Want to talk a little bit about the big thing in pro wrestling last night, the good thing in pro wrestling, despite what some people say. Fucking Meltzer and Brian Alvarez. Let's call these idiots out right at the top. These guys wouldn't know a good wrestling show right now at this day and age if it fucking hit them in the head. Like square over the head. They lost. Meltzer, you're as much as you try to be progressive and you say, and I really don't want to get onto this kind of a tangent, but I'm going to. As much as you say that, wrestling, you gotta move with the times, and back in Flair's day, they thought the Rock and Roll Express were corny and stupid, doing stupid shit, and blah, 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 blah. You definitely don't. You're fucking Access Media. You're Access Media, dude. You're so afraid to bash AEW at all and say anything really negative about them. Yeah, you nitpick here and there. But also, you're so far off the mark when it comes to being balanced in your reporting. This show, this Extreme Rules show that aired last night, was amazing. I enjoyed every minute of it. There were only two things that I didn't really like. I didn't like the Ronda Rousey Liv Morgan thing with all the baseball bat shots. I'll give Meltzer credit on that. The baseball bat deal looked stupid. It came off as hokey. You could tell it was a rubber bat. You know. Anyway. But we'll get to Liv Morgan in a minute. And I'm probably one of the few guys that didn't look like the Fight Pit. It came off as hokey. Daniel Cormier looks like an out of shape. You know who Daniel Cormier looked like? If you ever play the fucking video game Punch-Out? Little Mac's coach. That's Daniel Cormier. Stick and move, kid. Stick and move. Golly, how the mighty have fallen. He looked bigger than I am, and I'm a big dude. But anyway. I know what people are. Stupid Mark Joe White. He can still kick your ass, Joe White. Oh, who gives a shit? But everything else was, my God, the Donnybrook match, the ladder match, it was well paced. Everything about this show just almost just clicked, and then you had the end credit scene, as I like to call it, because the credits, if you want to call them credits, the little tag for Extreme Rules, the copyright tag came up, and we're thinking, oh God, everybody was sitting there thinking, oh my God, they're gonna screw everybody. And I even thought that for a second. I gotta admit, I'm like, oh my God, if they don't pay this off tonight, and I even kept telling people, if they don't pay it off at Extreme Rules, if they try to take it more than 4 weeks, people are gonna start getting sick of it. And all the wrestling journalists, especially the UK guys like the Cultaholic and the Cultaholic and what's that other one? Oh God. All the Cultaholic guys left there. What Culture? That's it. What Culture? Even they were starting to get sick of it. The news websites, the major news websites like Meltzer and even PW Insider really didn't go into detail every week about it like they should have. They just said, oh, we got White Rabbit clues. They didn't go down the rabbit hole. Anyway. We got the big reveal. I thought they were going to go off the air, and I'm like, oh my God. And everybody goes, oh my God, Twitter's going to go crazy. Like, that's the fucking measuring stick. But when you have a campaign that's entirely based off of QR codes and social media and the Twitterverse crowd and the Reddit crowd breaking it down, yeah, you got to kind of worry about it. But then you got The whole world is in their hands. And I believe that song is done by Better Save Jane, or Gotta Save Jane is the name of the band. There's a video that I put on my Facebook and in my Twitter. Follow me on Twitter at Joe Pillow to Post. That song was put up, the single for that song was put up over a year ago. So that's not new. That's not Bray Wyatt singing it. That's somebody else singing it that just sounds a lot like Bray Wyatt. I've been watching Wrestling Days on YouTube. This British guy, I can't really stand his voice. But I do listen to him because he's been covering the White Rabbit stuff the most. He even said, and I agree with him, when the life-size versions of Huskus, Ramblin' Rabbit, Abby, the Witch, and the Fiend, and Mercy the Buzzard, all those 5 guys, I don't think they're sticking around very long. A friend of mine who was been on the channel before, Kim, posted that the symbol was a moth, and that moth was used in Silence of the Lambs, or a similar version of it, and that moth is there to symbolize rebirth and growth and death and then rebirth. So the fact that it's coming out of the cocoon, rising up out of the cocoon, or falling out of the cocoon, or it's actually rising out of the cocoon in this case, tells me that we're moving away from that. So I agree with Wrestling Days on that. We're getting away from it. 2 bits of big news today that came out of this. One is that 3 bits. The Mask is based off of Black Phone, I think is the name of the movie, the Ethan Hawke film, with the Ethan Hawke wearing the mask. That looks a lot like the mask that Bray Wyatt was wearing, and it would look similar because the same guy designed both of those. In fact, the same guy, according to Wrestling Days, who I forget his name, I don't have it here in front of me. The same guy also let Bray Wyatt use his production space to produce some of the early Firefly Funhouse episodes. And the belief is that the Firefly Funhouse that we saw last night, that was dilapidated and cobwebs all over it because it hadn't been there in a year and a half. No one's been home the last year and a half. Actually going on 2 years. That was filmed at the same guy's studio as well. I want to know what this has to do with a white rabbit. Like going down the rabbit hole. I mean, I get that aspect of it, but I feel like there's something more to White Rabbit. And you killed the world. We gotta open up Raw with Bray. I kind of have my theories about where they're going with Bray. We'll get to that. Actually, we'll go ahead and get to that now. Let's start with Seth Rollins. Seth Rollins has blacked out his Twitter profile page. It's a black circle. Also, in relation to that, Liv Morgan has blacked out her Twitter circle. I don't know if anybody else has done this, but it's the same 2 blacked out profile pictures. Their Twitter accounts are still there, but their profile pictures are just black dots. Moving on again with Liv Morgan. Liv Morgan was seen in a backstage vignette last night. One of the PromoBot 5000 reporters was backstage saying, we're trying to get a word with Liv Morgan. And they're like, we can't find her. And then they look over and there's Liv, tucked away in a corner, a very dark corner. She's visibly crying and upset. She was visibly crying and upset after the match with Ronda, after she lost the title. But the look on her face is she Bray Wyatt's next victim or female? Is she going to be the one to join? Are they moving away from Alexa Bliss? Are we not going to My big fear was that we were not going to get an Alexa Bliss payoff, and WWE tends to do that. They rewrite history. They don't want you to remember it, so they're going to move on to Liv Morgan. And it makes sense also because Liv Morgan ties into the next topic as well. Reports came out today that Bo Dallas, Bray Wyatt's real-life brother, Taylor Rotunda, has been hired again by WWE after being released back in 2021. He was released when they cut Peyton Royce and Billy Kay and all those guys. So he's coming back. We don't know the role yet, but it's interesting that we got all this going on with Liv Morgan, the two black and Seth Rollins, the two blacked out Twitter handles, the two profile pictures. Liv Morgan looking upset and shaken and kind of demonic afterwards. Who is Liv Morgan dating in real life, or who is she in a relationship in real life? Bo Dallas. So all, it's all connected, except for the Seth Rollins part. But could losing to Matt Riddle have finally pushed Seth Rollins over the edge to where he was kind of doing that crazy dancing Joker character, but now has he fully gone insane? Are we building a real life Wyndham 6 here? Wyndham 6 has been his Twitter handle for God knows how long now. I don't know. I thought everything was awesome though. It was well done. I've had several people come up to me and go, or message me today, who don't normally watch wrestling, are asking me, hey, what's going on with this Bray Wyatt guy? What's going on with him? And I've had to explain everything. I've had also a lot of people who are, they watch every week just like I do, say, hey, I'm looking forward to Monday. Will we get something Monday? Who knows? I want to talk about AEW real quick. And I got to shout out the Cool Truth podcast, Daddy Cool Lacey, Hollywood Jeff Edwards, and The Wild Thing, White House. They did touch on some WWE this week, but I feel like, guys, as much as I don't want to bet, as much as I can't say don't want to, because I've seen through the facade since day one. The podcast, guys, is becoming a little bit of a bash AEW show. As my roofer unit kicks on. I would like to see the podcast go and talk a little bit more about the good stuff with WWE, because WWE is hot right now. WWE is on fire. I'm not going to say WWE can't do no wrong, but after last night, they're not doing anything wrong. And the build for Roman, and the only thing I have about WWE right now is they somehow think that people care about Logan fucking Paul. I don't know. He's a YouTuber who does stupid crap. In fact, he once went to the suicide forest in Japan and filmed a dead body. But somehow this guy gets a pass for that. To me, no. He's an idiot. He's a moron. So, and as much as WWE is trying to get people to cheer this guy, they were chanting Logan sucks this past week on SmackDown, for crying out loud. Anyway, but the podcast has become a bit of an AEW bash fest. Let's talk about some WWE on the podcast. I would have loved to see y'all get into more detail on the White Rabbit, because I was all in on this. Since that first QR code, I've been all in on this shit. Following it every week, dissecting it, nerding out over it. And I'm not the only one. There's a lot of people out there who've been doing it. But I am going to talk about AEW. Speaking of people who go down the rabbit hole and follow the internet, I want to talk how people think that AEW somehow has casual fans. They don't. There are no casual fans watching that shit. When they hit 1 million, let me tell you who AEW's fan base is. AEW's fan base are people like me who read the internet. People who go on the dirt sheets and read and listen to Meltzer and Mike Johnson and Wrestling Inc. And only, you may have, the reason why it's 1 million is because I think that between all the dirt sheets, you know, The Torch, The Observer, Wrestling Inc., Fightful, as much as I can't stand Sean Ross Sapp, PW Insider, who's probably the best of the bunch, because they verify their shit, and very rarely do they report anything false, and very rarely do they get caught and go, plans change. But out of those, you know, like the big 5 news sites, Post Wrestling, I'll include John Pollock and all them in it, I believe there's 1 million followers between those guys. Whether, you know, you subscribe to all of them, whether you subscribe to one, whether you go, I can't stand this one, but I subscribe to that one, blah, 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 blah. That's your AEW audience. And it's never going to change, because that's the audience AEW wants. So when people go, he's just pandering to the internet marks, that's because that's their audience. My son does not watch AEW. My son, I have a 13-year-old son. Who's been watching wrestling literally since the day he was born. That's a story for another time. But literally since the day he was born, he's been watching wrestling. He does not like AEW. He doesn't like the blood. He doesn't like when they use the foul language. Now, my kid's not a saint by any means. But my 13-year-old kid knows enough to know, hey, Dad, that's cheap heat. It's cheap. But last night, he was glued to that pay-per-view. My son gets the business. I remember one time, it was back when Batista was doing one of his stints with WWE. They opened up with a match on Raw with Batista, and he looked at me and goes, oh, wow, they're actually opening up with a match this week instead of someone coming out talking. And this is when he was like 10 years old. So he gets the business. He knows, you know, the wrestling websites. He goes on YouTube. He likes YouTube. He's one of these generation that social media, he loves. 90% of the shows he watches are on YouTube. But he doesn't like AEW. So for all these people going, the casual fans are never going to watch AEW, they weren't watching to begin with. This is a promotion that was by internet fans for internet fans. That's all it's ever going to be. Nobody is sitting there scrounging through the channels on a Wednesday night, clicking through going, oh, it's wrestling, I'll watch that. No, I'm sorry. And when it dips down to below 1 million, that's because the people reading the sheets get fed up with the shit. You have, I mean, you walk up and there's, I firmly believe that if you were to walk up to somebody and go, hey, do you know what WWE is? They're going to look at you and go, oh yeah, they're wrestling. But if you walk up to them and go, what's AEW? They're not going to know fuck all about it. Unless they're like us, who watch these videos and read the internet and go to the dirt shites. Yeah, there's one for you. Dirt shites. There you go, AC. Said dirt shits, it's dirt shites now. But this whole term of casual fans are never coming back, and lapsed fans, the lapsed fans are gone. Any lapsed fan who wanted to watch is still watching. The rest of them fell off. But to say that the casual fans, AEW has none. Your internet base is, you know, it's the internet crowd. Everybody who watches that show, everybody who goes to their shows, has read Meltzer sometime in their life, or has read an internet site sometime in their life. There's no casual fans anymore. Now, for WWE, yes, there is. I believe there is. It's a very, very small percentage. But for AEW, nope. It was created by an internet money mark for internet marks. That's all it is. The guys admitted to being a member or reading the Observer as a kid and being on the message board. That's the crowd he's pandering to. That's all that's ever going to watch. Anyway, folks, if we see a big rig on the road, give us plenty of room. Don't tailgate us. Go the speed limit. There's one that I've learned lately. Nobody wants to go the speed limit on an interstate. Remember, let us over if we need to get over. If you can't see our mirrors, we can't see you, and we'll see you down the road.